Who's the best coach in the NFL?
Dan Quinn does. As of recently, I have to say Andy Reid.
Andy Reid. Landini? Any dissent?
No, I would question anybody who says something other than Andy Reid. Not only has he been damn good recently, he's also been good for like 20 years.
His career record's 258, 144. His playoff record, 26-16. He's 3-2 in Super Bowls. Lost one with the Eagles, when McNabb barfed in the huddle. Lost one with Mahomes when he just got his ass kicked by a dominant Tampa defense. It's Andy Reid. It's not a debate. Number 2, I think you can debate. We're talking about CBS Sports just put this list out of the best coaches in the NFL. I agree with the list at number 2. Let's real quick. How many coaches in the NFL have Super Bowl rings? Reid, McVay, Harbaugh, McCarthy's fat ass.
Tomlin.
Pete Carroll was on that list. Belichick was on that list.
Is what's his name still the coach in Jacksonville?
Doug Peterson has one. You're right. Is that right? There's 6 coaches right now with Super Bowl rings?
I think that might be it. Unless we're missing like some glaringly obvious one.
Who's your second best coach in the NFL, Landfill?
I think for me, it's between Mike Tomlin and Kyle Shanahan. I think I'd go Kyle Shanahan.
Jeffrey?
I would go Shanahan only because, his team is considered one of the more complete teams when it's discussion around the league.
You both sleep. The correct answer is Sean McVay. McVay's got a ring. Kyle doesn't. I think if I was building a team today for the next 30 years, Sean McVay would be my number 1 pick as far as coaches, front office folks. I get it if you want to go with Shanahan, but remember that McVay also went to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, and they lost that one, but he's been to 2 Super Bowls. I think he's not even 40. He's got a ring. He's not even 40. Now, one thing, McVay's career record, 8 seasons, 70-45. He's 7-4 in the playoffs and been to 2 Super Bowls, won 1. I will be curious, and we'll start to see it, what the Rams are like in the post-Aaron Donald world, because I think we all talk about quarterbacks and running backs and wide receivers and tight ends.
Did we miss Sean Payton when we were talking about Super Bowl?
We did?
Yeah.
Good call. Aaron Donald was so dominant in ways that don't come through in prop bets or fantasy, and I think not having that is going to make a big impact, but I'm fascinated to watch it. The CBS Sports list goes Reid, obviously we all agree, then McVay, who I say, you guys say Shanahan, then they go with John Harbaugh, who honestly really never gets the level of respect he should. He does nothing but win games, kick ass, and be great. 17 years with the Ravens, he's 160-99. In the playoffs, they're 12-10. He's 1-0 in the Super Bowl, beat his brother Jim. They're going to have some success, though, with this Lamar team. I feel like for Harbaugh to get his vindication. Like, if he gets a second ring, then all of a sudden you're in a much different kind of category as a coach. And I just don't know that it's coming. We'll see. But, dude, Harbaugh's just John Harbaugh's an absolute stud. I think this is a little silly. They've got Matt LaFleur ahead of Mike Tomlin on this list. Matt LaFleur in his 6 seasons in Green Bay, 56-27. A lot of that success was inheriting Aaron Rodgers. But depending how this Jordan Love thing goes, and it looked pretty damn good last season, I think the conversation around LaFleur will change significantly because he's the offensive guy, he's the quarterback guy, and if Love turns into another in this line of Bart Starr, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and then they've got another one, then you got to talk about LaFleur in a different way. Tomlin at 6, 18 seasons with the Steelers, career record 173, 102. Everybody knows Tomlin's never finished below 500, right? Which is just astonishing in 18 years. 8-10 in the playoffs, 1-1 in the Super Bowls. This is what they wrote on CBS. There's a little bit of late stage Bill Belichick conundrum happening here. Tomlin is an all-timer, forever averse to losing seasons and always getting late year fight from even battered rosters. How much, however, are his locker room gravitas and career resume masking the fact that he hasn't had a playoff win in literally, you guys know how long it's been since Tomlin and the Steelers won a playoff game?
Was it the last time they went to the Super Bowl? It was like the last AFC Championship game that they went to the Super Bowl. Was that their last win?
8 years.
Okay, so no, but close.
8 years. That's
a
crazy.
while. I mean, I think Mike Tomlin. The thing about him is that he's had success with like horrible quarterbacks, and that's the thing that.
Like when they had Big Ben and he was relatively healthy, they were a contender.
They were contenders.
Now they have nothing.
They have nonsense.
Kind of bounced around. Right.
And they're still around 500. Like, it's hard for me to give people too much credit if they have, a Hall of Fame quarterback and like, oh, hey, you're winning 10, 11 games a year. Well, yeah, you've got a great player at the most important position. That's why I put him there. And, that's why I put Kyle Shanahan up there and Andy Reid. He's typically had good quarterbacks, but he's also won with multiple guys, and he was competitive with Alex Smith for like 6 years.
Right. I love Tomlin. I love his aura. I love his vibe. I love that it's just about winning games and being super competitive and punching you in the mouth. There was always those dumb rumors about Tomlin coming to Washington, which I never really bought because Pittsburgh doesn't mess things up. How about this next batch? Where do you think Jim Harbaugh deserves to land? Coming off a natty at Michigan.
That's odd because, I mean, obviously he was successful at Michigan, but he also had that previous run in the NFL where he was pretty successful for like 4 or 5 years there.
Dude, I think we sleep on how good those Niners teams were.
Yeah.
His record as an NFL head coach, 44-19-1.
Yeah.
5-3 in the playoffs. They lost that Super Bowl.
He was also good in college football with Stanford.
Right. I think his first head coaching job was like San Diego or something, and they were good in college. They got Harbaugh at number 7. I kind of buy it, dude. They've got him ahead, though, of Dan Campbell, Sean McDermott, Kevin Stefanski with Cleveland. Of this group, D'Amico Ryans, Kevin O'Connell, Mike McDaniel. That's who they have 11, 12, 13. Who's your pick out of that group?
I like Campbell.
Campbell?
Yeah. I can't really give McDermott a ton of credit because I feel like he's another one of those, hey, I have a really good quarterback, so I'm successful, guys.
Now, they did get to the playoffs and win a playoff game, I think, with Tyrod before they drafted Josh Allen. But
Tyrod Taylor's not bad.
Right.
But also, what was that, like one of those 9-7 teams that sneaks into the playoffs?
I like O'Connell a lot. I think I am really, I won't even say intrigued. I'm excited to watch J.J. McCarthy develop with the Vikings. I think McCarthy could play. I would have taken him ahead of Drake May. I've said that throughout. I think that could be maybe not an immediate home run, but I think that has home run potential. How do we feel about Mike McDaniel? Squirrely little guy, super fast team, offensive guy, kind of humble, plays to his goofiness. How do we feel about Mike McDaniel, Jeff?
I like him. I think his team represents, like you said, who he is as a person, and it shows on the field.
I also don't think they're really going to win much. Like, I think they're going to have some awesome offensive performances, and like fantasy and prop bets are fun when the Dolphins are involved. But like that group winning in January on the road in Cincinnati, like even their colors are too soft to win in January. Like you don't wear teal and win games in freezing rain. Maybe if they ever get home field, I don't know. Maybe I'm incorrect.
I like the concept of the Dolphins, though. Just like the logo, the uniform colors.
It fits in a way that very rarely do city teams fit. Like you got teal and or turquoise, whatever that is, like that color scheme, the Dolphins, Ace Ventura, Flipper, Dan Marino, Finkel is Einhorn, all of it works. And I love that at least they've established an identity. We're just going to be faster than everybody and just be a straight up track team. Again, I don't think it wins in January, but at least they got something.
Yeah, they think their playoff game this year was the one where it was like so cold that ESPN had to put their reporter in like an igloo with a heater so he wouldn't freeze. And obviously, Miami lost that game.
I think it was like negative 25 or something. Where do we think Dan Quinn's going to land on this list? I haven't looked.
I'm gonna say, probably the bottom tier. You know, that's where we tend to end up on lists. The last three.
That's unfortunately accurate.
I have looked, so I do know.
Let's do this before we look because I think this is interesting. Power rate the 4 NFC East coaches for me. One of them's won a Super Bowl. One of them's been in a Super Bowl. 2 of them have been in a Super Bowl as a head coach.
McCarthy has won the Super Bowl, but he has that was a long time ago, and he has kind of the reputation of a clown. Nick Sirianni
lost the locker room.
Yeah, also kind of has the reputation of a clown. Daboll, I don't know if you watched Hard Knocks, but he's working on acquiring the reputation of a clown. So, I mean, Dan Quinn's not the only one who's clown adjacent.
I wonder if, and perhaps this is burgundy colored glasses, but like, I think you could make an argument to put DQ at the top of the NFC East head coach power rankings.
Yeah, I mean, he's at least it's at least there's not a huge gap between him and whoever is number one.
I mean, Jeff, how do you stack it?
My Ashburn syndrome wants me to make Quinn higher, but I gotta put him at the bottom right now. I have to go with the Eagles coach, Dallas coach. Then I only can't put Dan Quinn up there right now is because we haven't seen what he's going to do, or we don't know what's going to happen this season. But I can't even put us above the Giants because we get swept by them. So I gotta go. My bad, their names are slipping right now because I'm working on this podcast. Eagles head coach, Dallas, Giants, than ours. But that's going to change after this season. Mark my words.
What is Daboll's playoff record? 1-1? Right? They beat the Vikings when Kirk checked down, and then they got curb stomped by the Eagles in the subsequent game. I mean, if you just look at it's kind of wild to think about. Like, McCarthy's won a Super Bowl, Sirianni's reached the Super Bowl, Dan Quinn's reached the Super Bowl, Daboll's got a 1-1 playoff record. And I feel like hottest seat is Daboll for sure, but I bet Sirianni's right behind him. And anytime you're dealing with Jerry, that seat ain't cool. Kind of wild to think about, man. The 4 coaches here. I want to be sure I got this right. What is your? Yeah, he's 1-1 in the playoffs. Interesting. All right, so for the list, the highest rated NFC East coach is Sirianni, 15th. Even though his career record 34-17, 2-3 in the playoffs. I think they nailed this. I'm going to read this from CBS Sports. How does a guy with the second best win percentage among active coaches end up 15th with just 2 years after leading the Eagles to a Super Bowl shootout with the Kansas City Chiefs. Look no further than the 2023 collapse, in which his brash personality only exacerbated a 1-7 finish that included and preceded major staff upheaval. With new top assistants, the pressure's on to capitalize on an all-star roster. All right, so Sirianni at 15. They got McCarthy at 17. McCarthy's career record's pretty impressive, 167 and 102. He's 11-11 in the playoffs. He has won a Super Bowl. I don't think – all right, he's 1-3 in the playoffs in Dallas. That's probably more relevant. Damn, Sean Payton. How about that? McCarthy and Payton, one of only 6 coaches currently in the NFL with Super Bowl rings, ranked 17th and 18th. What have you done for me lately? They got Dan Quinn ahead of Brian Daboll. I read now from CBS Sports. Dan Quinn ranks 20th in the CBS Sports NFL head coach rankings. Career record 43 and 42, 3-2 in the playoffs, 0-1 in the Super Bowl. We all know 28-3. God, you imagine losing a Super Bowl with a 28-3 lead? That's got to keep you up. That's got to keep you up at night. I'm reading Washington saw firsthand how much Quinn's Dallas Cowboys defense excelled as a ball hawking unit, and the club's simultaneous infusion of veteran players should aid his debut. The question is, does Quinn really register as a step forward after Ron Rivera? His teams are feisty, but he hasn't led a winning season as a head coach since 2017, before his old Falcons fizzled to 18-23 from 2018 to 2020. We're going to find out.